I want to take you through a thought exercise. Let's say it is my legal and moral obligation to approach you and remove, by means of a sharp knife, your little fingers on each hand and your little toes on each foot. If you have a wife or husband, I'd appreciate your assistance in holding them down as I remove their fingers and toes as well. It can be a traumatic experience, and it really helps if there's a loved one present. Also, if you have any children, I'll be needing to visit them as well. Any objections to this? Well, I'm sure there is. You'll probably first want to know who gave me the authority to remove parts of your body. Well, we covered authority in the last video, so let's move on to the subject of this video. Legislature. How did a law come about that requires you to forfeit your fingers and toes? Well, I say while I tie down your arm to my specialized cutting board, there is a voice that comes out of my closet sometimes. I can only hear it when I'm alone, and it doesn't always talk to me, but on certain occasions, it does. There have been other people that have heard it, you see. I once prostituted my wife to the mayor of a town once. The entire town went infertile for a few years. The voice spoke to the mayor and told him it was because he was sleeping with a married woman. The mayor gave me my wife back because the voice told him to. Now, I take this voice very seriously because he tells me the way that things should be. This voice told me that he'll take care of you if your fingers and toes are removed. If not, he'll curse you. You start to get nervous as I sharpen my knives. Can I speak with the voice? Maybe ask him to reconsider? You say in a nervous stammer. I'm afraid not, I say. The voice is disembodied. Its source cannot be seen. Its mouth cannot be touched. The last time I heard the voice was a few decades ago. For all purposes, it's like the voice doesn't exist, except in the stories that I tell you about. Pull your little finger away from the rest of your hand and say, "This is going to hurt." It's very creepy, isn't it? In this story, I play an insane person. Yet this is exactly how Christianity and Judaism got their starts, supposedly. According to the Christian religion, there is an invisible, intangible, unobservable spirit that goes by several different names, and this entity makes up laws for the rest of the world to follow. This voice once spoke to a guy named Abram and told him to cut off the foreskin from his penis, his son's penis, and his slave's penis. Any penis he could get his hands on, really. He had to cut. You see, I'm not the creepy person who made up this scenario. The Bible did it for me. I just made it more acceptable for television. Second scenario. Keep in mind we're analyzing how God's laws are created. Let's say the entire town you live in decided to go on a camping trip, backpacking into the wilderness. I happen to be the guide of this expedition. Before every mealtime, I say a form of grace, yelling up at the sky, "Kurloff, we thank you for the food and the faith. Thank you for creating the world 30 years ago from the womb of a celestial dragon. We serve you in every way." Sure, it's weird, but everyone just stays polite and lets me do my little ritual. On the fourth day, I decide to climb a mountain, from which I don't return for a week. The rest of the camp wonders where I've gone, and they can't continue on without their guide, so everyone settles in. A few people start to talk about my prayers to Kurloff and my version of creation. Some people are older than 30, and they say that's proof that my tale is wrong. The high school science teacher of the town starts talking about evolution, Big Bang cosmology, and abiogenesis. A lot of people are interested, so the teacher starts speaking loud. Soon there are 1,000 people listening to her talk about the creation of the universe. Halfway through her talk, I stumble out of the wilderness, holding a notepad. Everyone is surprised to see me. Some of them thought me dead. "You foul abominations," I yell at them all. "Kurloff has handed down to me his laws. Why do you forsake him for this religion of evolution? Slay them all!" And at this point, dozens of armed men with machetes rush toward the crowd and slay anyone who's listening to the lecture. Christians I noticed that didn't pray with me to Kurloff have their throats slit. Muslims that continue to pray 5 times a day towards Mecca are stabbed. Atheists who made remarks about my silly religion are decapitated. I'm not really a demented person who obsesses over body mutilation and mass murder. This story is also taken from the Bible. Moses leads thousands of people into the wilderness, disappears for a few days, comes down from a mountain with a list of rules that no one else has knowledge of, and then kills thousands of people for breaking the rules that Moses has yet to share with them. So let's talk about the main subject of this video, legislature. According to Christian theology, there is a disembodied spirit, supernatural in all ways, undefined in a lot of other ways, invisible, intangible, unobservable. This secretive entity wants everyone to follow its laws. So it tells one person, a messenger, who then spreads the word to the rest of the population. If we accept this claim as it is, that entity is a tyrant. It takes into account no one else's input, it has no system of checks and balances, and it has no process. It is the most anti-American form of government that has ever existed. Well, this system might work if all the laws made sense and are moral and are actually there to make society healthier and happier, But that's not what we get from the laws of the Christian God. What we have are ancient stories about men who behaved like the characters in my two examples. Madmen, men who heard voices and physically and psychologically hurt people who didn't follow the rules of their supposed God. Men whose stories cannot be verified now by any means. Men who, if they were trying to tell their stories of a ghost who passed laws today, and how they either need to kill or maim other members of the populace, they would be locked up in an insane asylum, and you wouldn't give their story a second thought. So I'll leave this question up to you, viewer. When it comes to God's process of making up laws, which seems more likely? A. That a disembodied entity that leaves no sign of its existence tyrannically makes up laws and tells them to various illiterate goat herders in a desert in a range of 6,000 to 2,000 years in the past, so that they can pass on an oral tradition for hundreds of years before they commit these laws to a book called the Bible, a method so inefficient that to this day there are millions, if not billions, of people that still have not heard of the Bible and the laws contained therein. Or B. That the men who have told us about this ghost are either insane, are using a lie to seize power, or have exaggerated a fable into a ghost story that has since been adopted as truth.